Welcome back to St James's Pod. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Newcastle United's last fixture, which was Spurs away at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Let's go. Lads, we're back. Another episode. Alex, how you doing, mate?
Aye, sound mate. Yourself?
I'm not too bad. Actually, to be honest, I'm absolutely buzzing. We'll get into why that is very, very shortly. Paige, how are you, mate?
I'm absolutely champion, mate. Thank you.
Rumour has it you've been having a couple of beers before the record, so...
I've had a fair few of big waves. So yeah, I'm doing
right, we'll just say now. Any comments by Tom in this episode are his alone and not condoned by St James's Pod.
You put that out every week.
Probably a fair show.
Going into this game, lads, the results has gone on in our favour with certain other teams around us in the league. So we actually had the opportunity to jump into the top four. But we did have Bruno's partner giving birth to a little boy, Matteo. So that was going to possibly affect the team sheet. So in the lead up to this game, I was both excited but a little bit worried that missing one of our star players could mean that we were going to get nothing out of this game. However, the absolute lad he is, he apparently drove down the day of and he wanted to be with the lads. And I heard Chris Watt from The Athletic say that he actually lied to Eddie about how much sleep he'd had so that he could start the game. Let's talk about the lineup. Obviously, Bruno makes it. Alex, Joe Linton came in, Willock came in, but Joe Linton went over to that left-hand side.
Mm-hmm.
What were you thinking at the start of the game? Murphy dropped a bit harsh.
Yeah, well, Murphy didn't have a great game previously, so I wasn't too surprised to see him drop. But I thought Fraser might come in as just a like for like. I thought Joe Linton would stay in the centre of the park because he's been imperious there in recent games. So yeah, I was slightly surprised to see Willock come back in, who's more of an attacking option than Joe Linton really. So it just proved that we were going to go out and go on the front foot, which is what Eddie Howe's done since day dot. No matter who we faced, home and away. So yeah, it was surprising to see because we haven't seen Joe Linton play there a lot since Eddie's came in, and got that enforced change in the Norwich game where he's miraculously been reborn as a centre mid. So yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah, I think that was when I started to get like a bit excited again because you see that obviously we are going to be attacking the game, and Bruno's in there, so like it gives you that big confidence back. I don't know about you, Tom, because obviously you, out of the four of us usual hosts, you're Murphy's probably biggest fan, but you also given Willock big compliments on his driving runs in the last episode. So, how were you feeling when you saw the team sheet?
To be fair, that's exactly what I wanted to see. Like when, we've got that opportunity to bring a little bit more sort of, and I think I called it out in the last podcast around their issues down the right side in terms of not having the a consistent option at right wing back or right back, whichever formation they play. So having Joe Linton push a little bit further forward meant that I felt a little bit more confident that we would be challenging them a little bit more, putting a bit more pressure with Joe Linton using his strength and if I think we might come on to it a bit later on because it definitely played into a certain few chances that came about, but yeah, that I was quite happy about. I don't think Murphy would have necessarily played into those opportunities in this setup that Spurs were playing. But yeah, Joe Linton playing in that sort of left winger position is something that he has done previously at Hoffenheim before he came to us. Hasn't really played in that position far too often with us, but yeah, I think it certainly helps that he did a good job in this scenario.
Yeah, I think the last time I remember him playing there, he actually grabbed the goal. I can't remember who we were playing against. But the service I used to watch it on the lineup, they actually put Willock on the left hand side, and I was when I saw that, I was actually like, oh, interesting, because like you'd imagine Joe Linton would start in the centre, and then I was thinking Willock, like the way he does drive forward, I was thinking could be decent on the left, but then obviously the way we actually ended up setting up, it wasn't really like that. And I think the one thing with Murphy that you kind of lose a little bit is that press. The one thing that he is good at is the press. So it was going to be interesting. But on the Spurs side of things, we talked about it before the game. He obviously had some attacking options out. Richarlison was injured. Kulusevski was injured. Højbjerg in the centre of the park was out, wasn't he?
Yeah, that was a couple.
It was probably a good time to play them. They also had the Champions League game, one eye on that. But yeah, so let's get into the game then. So the first 10 minutes was great. It was a great first 10 minutes for like a neutral. What were you thinking in those first 10, Alex? Because it was a game at sort of two different sides, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit end to end. My heart was in my mouth a few times when Son got the ball in some good positions, and thankfully he wasn't as clinical as he can be. Yeah, I was 10 minutes in. I was hoping that that wasn't how the match was going to pan out, because it was going to be a bumpy ride if that was the case. But thankfully it settled down a little bit. But I think Tottenham came out as we pretty much would have expected, trying to play on the counter, playing a back five, and get the wing backs up high. But yeah, and we very much played on the front foot as well, so it was a lively first 10, yeah. But thankfully we rode the storm a little bit.
Yeah, I remember sitting there thinking like, whoa, like we're looking good here, and then would have all that possession for maybe 30 seconds to a minute, and then next minute they've got a shot off on goal. Like, oh god! But Nick Pope, got to give him some props first 10, because I mean I think at least one of Son's shots was a bit wild, but he made a couple. I'm sure he made a couple of saves off Son, and Kane also got through with a pretty decent opportunity, and Nick Pope was up to the task. So the next thing I've got written down is a Son 1-on-1 with Pope. So obviously again, Pope's come up trumps, Tom.
No, to be fair, look, Pope has like that in his locker. I think if anything, that might have been one that might have people might have questioned, like his ability to close him down. But no, to be fair, I think Pope has proven shot stopping wise this season gone that he's able to do just that, like in one-on-one situations. So yeah, I don't think Son Son, I mean, 9 times out of 10 though, when Son's through on goal, I think he's proven that he can get the better of keepers. But yeah, I think in this case, Son, didn't have that. That look. Pope was very well placed.
I think this is the one where he makes the save, but it's probably still going to go in, or it's at least like bouncing around the like couple of yards out, and Trippier comes and clears it. So I think at this point, I'm starting to worry that Spurs are going to overrun us. But the next big shout in the game is Joe Linton, the penalty shout. Do you remember this one, Alex?
Yeah. First of all, I want to point out Fabian Shaw's absolutely phenomenal ball through, like right from the back. Yeah. And to be fair, Joe Linton's run was fantastic as well. His first touch was slightly better. I think he probably would have scored it, but he just let the defender get back into it a little bit. I think, you can't really complain. I don't think it was a massive shout for a pen. The defender got back well. Joe Linton, he took a little bit too much time on the ball, and luckily for Tottenham, it stayed 0-0. But yeah, the ball through and the run from Joe Linton was fantastic. Yeah, just really caught them out.
Do you agree, Tom, or did you think Stonewall pen?
I don't know. It's a tough one because we've seen those sort of things given this season, but the inconsistencies with VAR and with the handball sort of stuff, like I'm not totally convinced on it so far. So yeah, I would say probably best call was the referee just allowing play to go on.
Yeah, I think I agree that it was more like, if anything, Joe Linton kind of brings his leg back and kind of gets wrapped up in the defender. But having said that, I could have easily seen it given. I've seen some people like in the media and stuff saying like that should have definitely been a penalty, but I didn't feel too aggrieved at the time. But it was positive signs from us that we're getting in the right place. And as you say, Alex, the actual ball through, which became a theme later on in the game. But so the only negative thing in the sort of first half that we were talking a little bit about before we started recording was, I don't want to dig him out too much because I still think he had a good game, but Sean Longstaff, his passing wasn't at his best. And he gives like a poor pass away, and it ends up with Kane having a shot from a breakaway. And you'd probably have your money on Kane scoring when you see the break.
Yeah, that's the kind of chance that Kane usually tucks away. So I think we did get off a bit lucky there. I think in general, Longstaff did have a good game. I think there's a stat that came out that he's covered the most ground per 90 of any Newcastle player this season, which shows how much effort he's putting in, and you can't fault him for that. It's just like, as we potentially push for European places and trying to get into the top big six or the greedy six, I think quality-wise, he'll be a great squad player. Like, I wouldn't shit him on, I would keep him, but just starting for there's just little bits about his game, is like he sort of dithers on the ball, he gives a few passes away. It's just those little things which, say, like Bruno doesn't do, which just cuts him out from the rest, really. But yeah, it's happened in a few games lately where he's given a few passes away. I know with the Brentford offside goal, he give the ball away for that. Yeah. And there's been a couple of times where he's been caught, and I think we've been defending very well in general, so I think he's been bailed out a few times. So
yeah. I think it's one of those things where you can see he's he's definitely getting back to the player that he was, and I think Eddie still sees like more potential in him. So hopefully he'll start to cut that out. I also wonder sometimes if he's getting enough of a shout off his teammates, because he does seem to like think he's got more time than he has. Whether that's like 100% his fault and he's sort of dithering on the ball, or he's not getting a shout to tell him like you don't have time. That's me probably trying to give him the benefit of the doubt there. Like. But what did you make of the sloppy pass, Tom? Were you really disappointed in Longstaff, or did you just think it's actually great play by Spurs?
Yeah, he has that in his game. Fair enough. Like, I think, like you just alluded to, that he can sometimes miss. I think I've seen a few games where I've been at the stadium and I've pinpointed him out, and I don't know, sometimes he may get a little bit lost in the moment, sort of thing. So potentially he does miss that opportunity to hear a shout from a teammate where a better option is to pass it off. But I don't, like you say, don't want to dig him out too much. But yeah, Spurs.
Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, I think in that case it was just an unfortunate misplaced pass, which Spurs made should have made more of that than they did, essentially.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember as well, like, he isn't Bruno. Do you know what I mean? So he's gonna make mistakes. And I think one thing you were saying, Alex, about us pushing on for European football, and obviously we've all got hopes of cup runs and stuff. We're going to need players like Sean Longstaff, and just the fact of how many minutes he's been playing recently. I'm actually really pleased for him.
Clever idea, but alert goalkeeping from Lloris. But now he's in trouble, and he's off his line. And Callum Wilson with a beautiful, delicate finish.
So, lads, what did you make of that? Callum Wilson, he comes together with the keeper. The keeper gets bowled over to the floor. Let's say. Well, who wants to go first on this one?
6'2" Hugo Lloris getting bowled over by Callum Wilson. Give our like they both hit each other with the same force, like, and Lloris realizes he's fucked up, so he's just thrown himself to the floor. It's literally as simple as that. And I know, like, there's been all the goalkeepers union. You've had Paul Robinson coming out. I know all the ex-keepers coming out and saying it's a foul, but there's absolutely no chance. It's a coming together. Where's Wilson meant to go? Like, there's absolutely no chance that that's a foul, and it's an absolutely ridiculous finish on his weak foot as well, by the way.
Oh, yeah. It's fantastic finish, but I think, back to the point that you make about the goalkeepers union, the fact that Lloris is outside his area, like, the area normally is where the goalkeeper is, it's their, sanctuary. Like, anything
they're protected in there, aren't they? They're
protected within there. The fact that he's stepped out of that 18-yard box and he's come out, he's got, like, I mean, there's I don't know, Spurs fans might argue he gets to the ball, like, maybe milliseconds before, but, like, he doesn't really make clear contact for me to make it clear that he was the one that ends up being fouled.
He doesn't have it under control, does he?
No, exactly.
Chests it past Wilson almost.
Exactly that. It's slightest of touches. The fact that it's milliseconds between, and so it's a 50-50 ball. And to be honest, Lloris does not cover himself in glory. He makes a mess of it. He ends up then realizing he hasn't got control of it and decides to go down, and like Dawes says, like, it's pretty much a
embarrassing
nightmare situation for him. Nightmare situation for him, because he knows that he's absolutely all at sea, because Wilson has every opportunity to beat him, and he does, like, brilliantly.
Yeah, were either of you two worried when obviously they started checking VAR and it seemed to be taking a while as well? Were you worried that they were just going to use it as an opportunity to strike the goal out?
It's happened so often this season. I was just waiting for it. I really was.
Yeah.
I'm so pessimistic when it comes to these calls. And usually, like, my rule of thumb is the longer they take, the more chances of being overturned. Like, usually when they take a longer time, that's when they're trying to find a reason to overturn it. So that was a big exhale of breath when it got given in the end. And rightly so.
The fact that it's a goalkeeper as well that's involved, like that always adds that extra layer of like uncertainty to the fact that the keepers normally get the benefit of the doubt from the referee. So yeah, when that result came back from VAR, I have to say, yeah, it was a big surprise because normally you would expect to see the keeper get the decision their way.
Yeah, and another thing I wanted to kind of touch on, which I was thinking afterwards, the way obviously he kind of dives to the floor afterwards looking for the free kick, hoping that if he goes down, it's going to look more like a foul. But when you watch it back and like the guys watching the VAR replays are going to do, they're going to watch it in slow motion and stuff. And this kind of it goes back to what we were talking about in the Man U game with them diving and stuff like this. Like, are players not thinking these days like it's going to be so obvious that it's going to look unnatural when you watch the replay back? Do you think that factors into their heads at all when they're making decisions to go down, or do you just think it's too much of a split decision and it's too ingrained in them? Like,
I think it's such a big thing of when you feel contact, you go down, and sometimes they anticipate contact. So I think it's part of trying to almost con the referee to, well, there is contact, so that must mean it's a foul, when it's not necessarily the case. But you still see players every week getting booked for diving, and you see even more not getting booked for it. Like, I think Saka got booked for diving last week, Maddison the week before. It's still happening every single game. But it's more the contact, not enough contact to go down, which is the problem. Just because, like, say the Longstaff one against Sancho last week, you can tell he's like pulling out of the tackle. There is a bit of contact, but there's not enough contact to send him down to the ground in the way that he did. So I think that's why it wasn't given, because he went down so dramatically and unnaturally.
Yeah, I would say especially since the players know now that any decision which leads to a goal is kind of automatically reviewed, so to speak, with VAR, that it's within their sort of benefit to try and exaggerate certain moments to try and plead their case in case they think that they've been the victim of a foul that leads to a goal, so that they're better set in terms of defending themselves against such calls. So in Lloris's case, going down was an obvious choice for him, despite the fact that I don't think there was any need for him to go down. He had to go down in his sort of being to try and plead his case when VAR came to look at that decision on when the goal went in.
Yeah, I think it's just a funny one, because if he stays up, there's a good chance he probably blocks Wilson from getting his shot away. They come together, and then it's just when you watch it on the replay in slow motion, you can see there's that split second decision where he decides to go down. And I was the same as you guys. I was really heart in mouth thinking they're just going to strike this out. And I was really pleased to see that they didn't. But moving on to another slight mistake from Lloris. Let's talk about our little Niggy.
His helmet on, brushing his way past Longley, and what a finish for 2-0!
What a guy!
What a goal, lads! He's pulling them out every week, isn't he?
He's at the point now where he opens his body up like that, and I'm expecting him to score. When he took that little touch inside the box and opened his body up, I'm just thinking in my head, like, it's in. He's going to find the far corner, and he's got confidence, and I've got confidence in him now that, like, he's producing week in, week out. Fair play to him.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of talk about how left-footed he is. In this goal, he goes on the outside, and then he still manages to get it back onto his left foot, and he's not even like passing it across the box. He's still taking the shot, and he's still beating the read.
I think that the confidence that he's shown in, like, the whole build up to that. I mean, the ability to just go by Sessegnon like he's not even there, and then, like, you know, takes it around Longley, and then near post. You would expect him to try and look up, or, you know, most wingers, you'd expect them to look up and see who's there on the centre spot to you know, play the ball across. But no, fair play. He's confident. He thinks, right, I can beat Lloris here at the near post. I mean, you know, Lloris should, in fairness to him, like a World Cup fucking winning goalkeeper, should not be beaten at his near post. But, you know, Miggy takes the opportunity, and fair play to him. Like, Lloris was a bit slow to get down, but he stuffed it in, and in fairness to Miggy, that's what confidence brings. It brings chances that you would never normally expect, like, them to take, but, you know, it's a why not situation. Why not try and go for goal here? And he's done just that. And fair play. We've gone 2 up.
Yeah, 100%. And I think Lloris did have a bit of a stinker of a game, but to give him some credit, I think the fact that you'd normally expect the winger to pull it back or hit it with his right, at least, maybe does come into it, because it's probably something that you might get that 1 out of 100 times, so catches him off guard a little bit. And
if he thinks Miggy's right, he hasn't done his research.
Yeah, he's not watched Miggy much, if that's the case.
Also, one shout out, Sean Longstaff.
Yeah, go on.
He won the ball for the.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Again, it just shows how much he's just pressing the ball high, exactly what he wants him to do. I think I saw some analysis that, like, he left his man in midfield to win that header as well. So he covered the ground, won the header, and obviously then Miggy does the rest.
Yeah, and I think that's something that a lot of people sometimes don't give Longstaff credit for, and I'm glad that was, like, quite an obvious one, because it leads to a goal. And obviously we talked about his passing before, but things like that, like, I do like to see Longstaff do well, so I was really pleased with that. We'll move on to the handball shout. You were alluding to this earlier, Tom, with the VAR decisions. For the listeners, this is against Emerson Royale. It's very similar to ones we've seen given in the Premier League. What were your thoughts when it happened?
Well, yeah, it pops up. His arm is, like, clearly, you know, it's sort of parallel with his shoulder, his arm. So that for me could fall within that unnatural, like, position in terms of where your arm should be. I know it pops up to him sort of on the byline, in a bit of a non sort of kind of obvious position in the grand scheme of things, but it is an odd sort of placing for where his arm is. Joelinton's very close to him. We've seen them given. We've seen them given when their arm is at that sort of position. Clearly, It's not above the head. Fair enough. It's not like a Dan Burn against Brentford, but it's not by the side. It comes down to the real confusion when it comes to this handball rule. Like, where is an acceptable place for your arm to be? And Emerson Royale's arm was at that sort of parallel point.
It's away
where
from
the
his
ball
body, isn't it?
kind of with his shoulder. So yeah, odd.
I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah, the phrase he uses, unnatural position, and his arms up in the air. Again, you've seen a few given, you've seen a few not given, you've seen yeah.
You don't know what's going on
Even
either.
he disagrees. Yeah.
I think against Liverpool, like arm in the air, it wasn't given, and then you've seen like a lot of others given. It's just the inconsistency, like it needs cleared up. If your arm is out in an unnatural position like that in the air, I thought it was a penalty. I really did. And
well,
I don't.
I agree based on other things this season, but I'm in that camp where I don't mind if that's not given as long as it's consistent across all games.
Mm-hmm. If it's clearly
the fact that what we've seen given,
So that's it. Harry Kane makes it 2-1. Tottenham aren't out of this yet.
They've pulled one back here. First thing that comes to mind to me when I'm watching that go in is, why is Kieran Trippier marking Kane?
Yeah, it's a bit of a shambles, really. Like, we've got far better players in able to mark such a dangerous player in terms of Kane. We all know he's capable of scoring any type of goal. In terms of his height, his strength, and Trippier, he's no match height-wise to Kane. I think, the Spurs. I don't know. I don't know if it was a tactical thing or if it just so happened in that moment that Trippier just found himself forced into a situation where he had to, go meet Kane, and that somebody missed the chance to stop Kane. But yeah, it was a bit of a shambles, really, from my point of view, defensively.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense when you see Kane scoring so often from corners and set pieces, and not necessarily directly from them, like from the second balls. Like, you need to just put our best defender on him and try your best. And yeah, I'm not saying Trippier isn't the best defender, but when defending corners, you think Shaw Botman would be the one defending Kane. It's not like they've got a load of prolific centre backs who score a lot of goals. Like Eric Diaz have had a good goal scoring, really. But then you've got Langley, we've got Sanchez. But we've got three big centre halves on the field, including Burn. Sorry. So it just doesn't make any sense. Lewis Dunk, talk about Brighton centre halves, big Brighton centre halves. But yeah, it just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense having Trippier on him, and he got turned around and it just looked really bad. He gets turned around, he's facing the wrong way, and Kane just a tap in from 2 yards.
It was a good finish though from Kane, in all fairness.
You'd expect him to, though.
Yeah,
that's how he can.
Yeah, it's what you've kind of grown to expect from Kane, but I can only assume, especially obviously we're saying Trippier shouldn't be on him anyway, but he does get turned around, and I've got to assume that's partly because it wasn't a tactical thing, and it was just the fact that basically the last second it's he's picked him up because nobody's got him. It would actually be really, really interesting to have heard from one of the defenders after the game, see what actually happened there. Because we've got three. The rest of the defence are all over 6 foot, and Dan Burn's nearly 7 foot, so they should definitely be taking up Harry Kane. We'll just briefly touch on the VAR decision here, because they looked at this one for a little bit, debating whether or not he was offside. Either of you two feel a bit aggrieved that that one stood?
When I saw the replays, I thought Sanchez got a touch on it. Like, I really thought, like, it was the view from behind the goal, I think it was, where it looks like the ball moves. And I can see why they didn't overturn it, because with something like that, well, obviously offsides aren't clear and obvious errors, but like him touching the ball, maybe there wasn't a big enough tolerance for them to overturn it if there wasn't that much evidence that he touched it. But I did at the time. I thought he touched it. I thought he got a nick on it, and I thought you see the ball change direction a little bit.
It's hard because I think at time, like, you look at it and he's maybe got his back to it. I don't know if it's an obvious kind of movement maybe that they're looking at, and I don't know if he does make an obvious movement towards the ball, and that's why it's ended up being given. But yeah, I'm with Alex on the fact that I think it does make a movement from him, but I don't know if it just comes off the back, like, the back of him, which he can't control. And again, it's grey areas. I think we've talked about this a number of times with certain rules this season, but I think it's a grey area as to, is there an obvious play by the player, which, despite them being in an offside position, which, yeah, I think it's a tough one. I can see why they've ended up giving it, but at the same time, we've seen them given in terms of being called offside, because I think, it was definite that he was in an offside position.
Yeah, I wasn't too aggrieved personally, because when I was watching the replays, I couldn't quite make my mind up, and for me, I do want to stick to this clear and obvious thing. So I know it's gone against us quite a few times, but for the technology to work, I think they do need to get better at making sure it's clear and obvious before they change the referee's decision. So, and also another thing, I don't know about you guys, but even though they scored against us, I still wasn't worried that we were going to end up not winning the game. I still felt confident that we were going to carry on and get the points.
Yeah, you'd think, like, when we're playing City, for example, the last half an hour we're under siege a little bit. With Tottenham, it didn't feel like that at all. Like, playing in front of their fans, and they're like, they're third in the table at the time, and still are. You'd think they would have came out with a bit more, but it's like they didn't have a plan B. It's like they've got a plan A of sitting back and playing on the counter, but they're not as good when they have a bit more of the ball and they've got to try and make things happen. Maybe they were forced into it a little bit with the Kulusevski and Richarlison injuries.
Yeah. After the game, we saw quite a few interviews from a few different sources as well. I think because was the game on TV over there? Yeah. So mainly we saw Callum Wilson and Bruno. I don't know if did you guys see the interview they did together? Yeah. And Bruno just looks absolutely wrecked.
Oh, his eyes. You can tell he hasn't slept in days as well.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I love it. Like, he's just given. Well, his wife's just given birth. He's stayed up for 2 days and he's still dying to play like the game 2 days later after his first ball. Like, tells Eddie Howe that he's had like one night's sleep and he's been all right. And Eddie Howe's interview after saying, "Oh yeah, he didn't tell us that he'd not slept for 2 full days." But I think he'll let him off because he still played brilliantly as always.
Yeah, I mean, can't fault the lad. Like, I think we've mentioned it in the past that he clearly has a love and affection towards playing for Newcastle. I think he seems to feel as though he owes something to the fans, which is, obviously fantastic. I think, the majority of fans would have allowed him to sit on the bench, I think, for at least the first half, just to give him some respite. But he went straight in, and fair play. Yeah, like Dawes said, he played fantastic, and it's great to see that there's players that play for Newcastle who want to give every ounce to the cause.
Yeah, totally. And also just the bond you can see as well between Wilson and Bruno. There's obviously a clear bond throughout the whole team, but when you see them off the pitch and they're like that with each other, and Bruno, obviously, his English has come on leaps and bounds, but he's not a native English speaker. So seeing those two like connecting like that was fantastic. And also, I saw over here, Wilson did like a solo interview to the studio, and he was talking about his England aspirations there as well. So he's definitely jumping at the bit to get in the England squad, which I don't know. Like I've heard a couple of opinions on this. Some people saying like they don't want him to go to the World Cup because of how injury prone he is. We don't want him picking up injuries for Newcastle, but in my opinion, I want all of our lads to get all of the fulfillment they can out of their careers while playing for Newcastle, so that they don't end up having to go anywhere else to do it. And he's been so unlucky with it in the past. I'd love to see him just get on that plane and go to the World Cup.
Yeah, I know the early hours in Australia over there, but he's done an interview with Sky Sports today, and he says to them I think that I'm doing enough to try and be in the conversation at least to be picked. And he's saying as long as I stay fit and keep scoring goals, he's basically saying I think I should be in the squad pretty much. Which is you'll get some stick for it, but I do believe on current form when he's fit, he's a fantastic asset to have, and he'll add a little bit more than let's say other strikers will give. I think Kane is obviously number one. I do think Ivan Toney should go. I think he's got the same play style as Kane in a way. He's big, he holds it up well, and he's a ridiculously good penalty taker. But I think Wilson's playing off the last man, getting in behind. I just think he would give a different option off the bench, which I don't think we tend to have in the England squad.
I tend to agree. Look, I think Wilson is the closest to Kane in terms of being an all-round striker when it comes to England duties. Obviously, the other options that we have, Calvert-Lewin being one of those, could factor in, but I don't believe he has the same attributes that Wilson has. So look, I'm all for him going, and I want him to have that. I don't think he's gonna get too many opportunities, even if he does go. So that gives me a bit of reassurance that I don't think he would come back from duties with potential injuries like we've seen in the past when Owen's come back from World Cups with injuries. Going back a few years now, but yeah, I think Wilson, if he does go, will be utilised in a very short bursts kind of way, and yeah, hopefully he would come back injury free. But I would like to think that he deserves the opportunity to go based on his current form.
Yeah. And that's another thing is, while you're saying that, is he probably won't get many minutes if he does go. So a lot of it will be training, which you'd be doing anyway with the lads going out to Saudi or whatever. And we're playing friendly games as well. So I know it does make a difference that our club's not looking after him. So you don't know exactly what he's doing, but you got to kind of trust the England setup to some degree. So yeah, I mean, as well, like, can you imagine watching a World Cup where there's like 3 Newcastle players in the England team?
Get Dan Burn over Tyrone Mings as well all day. Like,
100%. 100%. It's not going to happen though, is it? But,
and the fact that England don't really have any natural left back past Chilwell, like, bring him in centre half. You can play in a 3 or 4 and left back. I'd take Burn as well.
That makes sense. I'd love it if Trippier was like in Southgate's ear, just like, you need to take these, lads.
You will, you'll try.
Willock and Longstaff will end up getting in there before you
That's what they're coming away now. Jacob Murphy as well,
You bet.
Yeah, how many points are
just before we wrap up on the game, lads, was there anything else in particular you wanted to highlight in the Spurs game?
Just think the shift that the lads put in was fantastic. Like, I know I had some optimism coming into the Man U game, thinking that, I think we could get a result. Our recent form against Spurs has been so terrible. Even, like, that was the one terrible game after Eddie Howe's taken over. So I wasn't going into Sunday optimistic, but it's quite a pleasant surprise in the end.
Yeah, I'd say the same. I think if we're looking back in recent Toon history against Spurs away from home, we've obviously not done so well. I think we've got like a couple of standout results in, but 2015 we got a result. We got a 2-1 result, but I don't think we played particularly great in that game. I think we were a little bit lucky with Perez scoring the winner in that one. I think we go back to 2008, which is quite a while back to go to, where we actually, convincingly beat Spurs. And I think, in terms of, I know we won 4-1 on that occasion, Martin scoring a screamer at the end of the game. I think 2-1, maybe I think Spurs, that might flatter Spurs a little bit that they actually got a goal. If I'm being honest, I thought, we controlled the game well, and that, we deserved that win. And in the same way that we did in that game against them back in 2008.
Fourth place, by the way, boys.
Champions League.
That's the thing, right? Like, I think this game is the one which is going to really wake people up, thinking like we're
you
not
see it already, can't you? Like,
yeah,
in the media and stuff.
We're not here just to take part. A lot of media this week saying, "Is it now the Big 7?" Like, we didn't expect it this early. We were saying, "No, top half finish. I'd probably be happy. Maybe try and push for the European spots." Anything like this. So
also, I wanted to come on to this because we're now sitting in 4th. I think I just wanted to reflect back to the start of the season, or when we're in pre-season and we're talking about our aspirations and our predictions for this season. I was definitely one saying a comfortable top 10 in the league, where we don't have any sort of stress that we're going to get dragged into the bottom half or into a relegation battle. Tie that in with a really strong cup run. I think that was my aspiration, but also my prediction. That's what I thought would probably end up happening, and it still could. Like, not to say that we're going to storm the league or anything like that, but I just wanted to kind of catch up now that we've had such a good start and we've racked up so many more points than most of us probably expected. Are our aspirations changing now as a fan base or personally even? And are you predicting a better finish than you were at the start of the season?
I think you can't help but change how, like, as the season goes on, how you think, because like at the start of the season I was thinking like I think we're probably like up there with the best of the rest, in with like the West Hams, the Leicesters, like those teams fighting it out. Brighton's fighting it up for like 7th place. So I think I predicted we'd finish like maybe about 8th place. like top half, I'd still be happy with. But we've had such a good start. I still think we'll finish 6th or 7th. I think if we're finished outside the top 7, I think that would be probably a bit disappointing from where we're at now. I know that sounds ridiculous, but we've started so well, we're playing so well, we're getting so many good results against good teams, and we could have had even more points on the board as well if certain decisions went away. So I don't think 6th or 7th is too ridiculous of a shout to finish this season.
I tend to agree there with Dose. I think we have to push for a bit higher than where we are. I think you look at
third?
Oh well, in terms of maybe not where we are now, but where we expected maybe to be in terms of like the
to win the league?
The top 10. Hey, you know what?
George.
Hey, yeah, give us a January. Yeah, we'll see where Arsenal are, City. We'll take them on. But no, I think we were probably expecting to be in around the top 10, but it would be fantastic to push for the top 7. It may come down to a bit of luck. I think there obviously are still teams that may think that they're more capable of finishing above us. Given their squad sizes and quality, etc. But I'll give Eddie his dues and see what he can pull together in terms of recruitment in January, and see where we are. But in terms of the cup run, obviously we're still very much in the mix for the League Cup, with a game against Palace coming up soon. So give ourselves a good chance in that competition. So just to keep ourselves ticking along, I think we're in a fantastic place right now.
Yeah, and I think going back to like my pre-season predictions, I'm kind of still in the same boat as, to be honest, I don't really care that much where we end up. If we keep playing like this, I just want to enjoy the season as much as possible, and then maybe next season I'd be a bit more, come on, let's go get Europe. But I just want to enjoy the ride, and like you say, we're still in the cups, but I can't help but get excited because, like you touched on there, Dawes, like the other teams that at the start of the season you expect to be competing with had, like Leicester, they're right down there. West Ham's had a bad start. Brighton's now like changed the manager, which it seems to be affecting them. I mean, you can't help but think like we are a shoo-in to be the best of the rest. And then when you factor in like teams like Liverpool having a bad start, and the teams that are want to be above us as well, they have to play more games because they have European football. They probably want to attack like both domestic cups. So, lads, I'm I'm absolutely buzzing.
I'm not getting carried away, but I'm getting carried away.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, I think we wrap it up there. It's nice to end it on such a positive note. And we'll be back for a chat prior to the Aston Villa game. See you there.